stuck on feeling. La 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 la. Singing that song, Stuck on a Feeling. Hey, InShalla and Ashe, blessings to you, my energetic beings. I just love saying that out loud. Today, our empathetic channels are open, our feelings, our intuition, psychic awareness, etc., etc. So our waves into the spiritual realms are like expanding like the ocean, the tides of the ocean, the ebbs and the flows and the breathings in and the breathings out. And I know I've had to do that a little extra this morning, but I should say this afternoon, but connections to our feelings is going to offer us guidance to those waves. So you might be literally experiencing a plethora of those waves, really, like emotional feedback, literally like waves. So oftentimes, we just need to take a breath and take a pause, give the feeling time and some space. Is it coming from you or is it coming from an outer influence or outside of you? So it's really about compassion and mercy and faith and forgiveness. So the ingredients of our treasure box. But with that, welcome to our daily snippet. Once again, I am your host. I am a practicing holistic Sha'medium and subtle energetic surgeon, merging these indigenous technologies, the spirit of the Dagara tribe in Burkina Faso, with the subtle energies, elementals, elemental beings, the elemental realm into the imaginal realm, with offerings, rituals, and prescriptions to add to your own personal juice in your container. But my intention truly is to merge these indigenous technologies with the subtle realms into the Etheric Highway to assist you to navigate your prime directive, your inner genius, just reintroducing you to and through the magical being that I believe resides within each and every one of us. My name is Tonya D, and welcome to my virtual medicine room. And if you haven't already, please be kind and do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tonya D, of all things, right? Tonya D. But hit the bell button so you're notified. And also, if you don't mind, like the video so the algorithm on YouTube echoes me out to other like-minded musers in the galactic universe, or the universe herself, the goddess, but along with other social media channels as well, like TikTok, Instagram, etc., and my podcast, Musing with Tonya D. But there's not going to be any snippets this weekend. I'm doing my immersion, Voices of the Otherworld, into the elemental of mineral or metal, the voice, the gift of clairaudience, really, the verbal intuition channel. It's like, do you hear voices? Along with sigils, signs, shapes, and so much more. But with the moon still being in the season of Gemini, just cycling through Pisces, it really is a day to open up our communication with our feelings, those waves of emotions. The galaxy is open as well. So the messages I'm going to go with today are the ethereal beings, which I absolutely love, on the etheric highway, to me, the ethereal realm. But first up, we have the Six of Cups. I don't know if you can see that, but she's wandering along this path until she comes to her destination. So there's this creek that's kind of burbling and gurgling along its bed. It's not far below her little chosen spot there, and she's setting up her table or teacups to receive her little visitors. And first comes her friends from home. They have these little tiny, shiny button little eyes and these threads of sewn smiles. And then there are the shyer ones that are creeping forth from the shadows and the hollows of the woods, if you will. These are the sylphs and the nymphs that come from below the glassy waters, and the dryads that coming from the birch and the beech and the oak, and even the goblins from under the under. But these have been her companions, the ones that she's been waiting for. She greets them. She's cheerful about it. But they're drawn forth by her innocence and chatter, by the mind that's not been changed, actually, by boundaries of what must be and the definitions of impossibilities in her little world. So the fish are not bound by the water of the creek. They may swim through the air above that glassy path. And the sylvan company she entertains at her table, those are all as welcome as one, too, made of cloth and stuffing. But the queen of the realm of the fairyland steps forth, this fantastic kind of retinue. It kind of draws back, and this little girl greets with smiles, pours a cup of tea, and even offers a smile. So really, the Six of Cups is like a reminder of our childhood innocence, our good intentions, noble impulses, the simple joys and pleasures of being in the earth plane. It's not meant to be overly sentimental, but more of an urging to remember to really be open-minded of a childlike perspective, childlike wonder, to push back the narrowness that kind of folds us and holds us in over time with all these complexities of life and responsibilities. But being that it is otherworldly, it's kind of a message that we should maybe dive into our childhood, the childlike wonders a little further, and find the simple pleasures and the innocence of life and connecting with those otherworldly beings, if you will. It's kind of how I see that. I don't know how you're seeing it. And then we have justice, which I love. So justice to the Egyptians, when the death claimed a soul, one was brought to the judge by the goddess Ma'at, M-A''A'-T. Not sure if I'm saying that right. But she weighed the soul on her scales against a feather, and if found wanting, that soul was sent to the underworld. So these are those who say justice is blind, but that's not so. So her eyes are blazing white, not with blindness, but with the pure white essence of truth. So she sees through the mere flesh, peeling aside the layers of emotion, dissemination, illusion, perception, and into the heart where this unfettered awareness resides. There really is no hiding. So she kind of stands for karma. So the souls gathered in the butterflies that have shifted, they're hovering near her. She bears the feather close to her heart like a sword. So she judges not with her own bias or with grays of the maybes, but in terms of stark black and white. So there are things that are as they are. They're fair, they're impartial, and they're right. And there is a balance that is achieved when true justice has been meted out. So there's this evening out, not an evening in the sky, but an evening out of what was not settled correctly. So this is balance, harmony, equilibrium, assuming responsibility, weighing all sides of an issue before making a decision, and choosing with full awareness. So justice relies on a logical mind, just capable of objective ruling on all the situations and adjusting what needs reassessment, and meditation on the right and the morality and the duty, and maybe even perhaps compromising things that must be made. Compromises need to be made in order to truly evenly out both sides of a situation and just admit and acknowledge the truth, and really understanding or comprehending the results of our actions, the connections they have to everything around us. And from that, just setting a course for the future that might be. So part of the reason I was so snail trail late here is my house is shaking like an earthquake due to the developers. It's getting to be a task, I'm telling you. But holding my emotional frequency, I am safe, I am grounded. And our last message, of course, once again, comes from the Seven of Swords. So you can see, hopefully you can see, he's been hiding his face behind this mask. He's crowded and shrouded in his true nature. He's actually smirking. He's rather satisfied about it. He's managed to steal one of the swords from the swan guardian that's overseeing everything. So he thinks the guardian, the swan, is oblivious. However, she is in fact watching him with one eye over her shoulder. Kind of reminds me of the justice in the unseen world, right? But she's recognizing him and she knows his nature. And also the blackbirds are descending upon him as well. And they're wondering what he has there, like the shiny little bauble, the shiny brightness. So they're kind of demanding to know what he has taken, and he's turning his back to them as well, because for him, he is the cleverest blackbird to have been able to draw the sword from the stone, if you will. So the Seven of Swords represents an attempt to escape our responsibilities. So it's the thief who tries to make away with what is not his or theirs. He's dishonorably, he tries to keep everything for himself. He's two-faced to those who attempt to approach him. So the result of this outlook on the world is kind of uncertainty, because if one is untrustworthy, then why risk having faith in others as well, right? So deception breeds distrust, pessimistic points of view. And being that we are moving into the end of the Pisces season, and Jupiter is the benevolent judge, it's our outer world. Is our outer world trying to deceive us some way? The other world has its eye on us, right? So the judge in the Seven of Swords, interesting indeed, little message there, the otherworldly. The outer world influences, right? What are they influencing us on? And then on the elemental highway, we have a yang water dog of a day, a ren shen. What do I have? A renju, sorry. So there's water in all of the stems there, lots of water. So and just like that water that rushes from the river, yang water people go after what they want. So despite any obstacle, you have to kind of think metaphorically here. These people are well liked because they don't crush what's blocking in their way. They flow, right? They merely looked for an alternate route and adapt. They have this exceptional intellect as well. So these people, they fall under this sign. They have a lot of kind of brain power. They're very flexible with the way they think. They're in the flow. They find inspiration in everything they see. Hence why yang water people make great entrepreneurs, because these people always have something going on. In the same way that water runs deep and consistent, these people are not the types who would sit on the sidelines, if you will. Sorry, my hat's squishing me. But these people, they want to socialize. They want to be active participants. They love their freedom, which includes going on adventures, seeking new heights. So when something prohibits them from enjoying the freedom, they might react with a bad temper, if you will. And every water surface needs boundaries, right? And without them, they flood, they flow all over the place. They become useless in a way, and they end up in dangerous surroundings. Despite being these free spirits, people under the yang water, the day master of the yang water, they want things to be in proper order, gifted with being analytical and these logical abilities. They can see things from all the angles. They're in the flow. They see the bigger picture without being hampered by their emotions. They are ruled by emotions as well. We're talking about water, right? So they're always ahead of the curve, ahead of everybody else. So people under this day master, this main element, they have the ability to give the task at hand their full authentic attention, so they can provide solutions to problems quicker than anybody else. So these people can think without being clouded with emotions. Although those with a weaker yang water element, they might struggle to achieve the balance between feelings and reason, two sides of the mind, right? So just remembering these facts, like deep ocean water, which contains secrets, unexplored areas, they really have these deep memories, this stored information, which is a reserve, like a reservoir, for the things that are important for them. So giving their methodical and systematic approach, they can finish a task very efficiently. Since they can, some of the details, they pull them in from their memory. They actually consider every detail before making a decision. So given how analytical they are very meticulous. So when they need to make a decision, as they consider each with very detailed care, even if they think fast, they don't base decisions on the impulse. They'll take their time, which in itself could be a problem, as they have a tendency to overanalyze everything. But they do need reassurance, right? So while people under this sign, they're gifted with this otherworldly superior intelligence, if you will, they can also be too conscious about how other people see them. So often they need the approval of the people surrounding them to be confident about themselves. So they have a desire to be the best in everything because they are so conscious, if you will. They're actually very conscious of their status. They often feel inferior when they're not holding the highest of the highest positions. So when people under this sign are not the top dog, and we've got a dog under the day there, they could stay away from the world due to this inferiority complex. So they have they're happier when they're taking the initiative. They're by nature, they're driven, they're motivated. Even if they undergo moments of low self-esteem, they bounce back and become literally a better person. So it's the act of doing something that's enough to really boost their enthusiasm, getting in the flow. They always feel the need to solve a problem, overcome an obstacle. So water needs constant movement to be in the flow. And if it gets stuck, it becomes stale. Therefore, people with yang water are feeling their best when they are onto something that involves literal physical movement. So yang water basically strong if it's born in the autumn months, which ours isn't. It's prosperous if it's born in the winter, but in the spring and the summer, this element is weak. Metal elements make yang water stronger, feeding it, right? Especially yang metal. So when yang water is overwhelmed, they become directionless and they're flooding all over the place. They have no direction. So they also need yang earth to set up their boundaries and protect water from flooding, right? Earth creates boundaries for water. So yin earth, though, that's not really going to be as much effective. It's going to just make the water muddy. So yang water people are usually rich with information, memories stored in the ocean, the depths of the ocean, like the ocean, which can like keep a lot of secrets in the depths of it. So they're able to collect and store this massive amount of information. Sometimes I see it how computers need water to cool down, right? Which the information they can pull out whenever they need it. But often they are very interested in business, especially if they're in contact with a yang fire element, which gives them speed and fast friction to react to things and execute ideas. This is just how the elementals play out. So they are constantly moving, so it's quite difficult to restrain them. They enjoy being free, but sometimes, as always, they can get out of control. So they have to learn how to be peaceful, which is also the element of water, reconciling clarity and peace, being that our element, it's weak and yet it isn't. If it comes in contact with a lot of earth, it's weak in the season of the rabbit and the spring and the tiger in the summer, but we do have a lot of water there on the stems. But the earth, if a lot of earth would make them dirty and muddy, negatively reflecting on those emotions and also health. So they are also excellent copycatters, actually. They only need to see things once and they are ready to reproduce it, like already on their way to reproduce it. So this ability is shown the best way with how Bill Gates has a yang water master element, and he famously copied operating software from Apple, Steve Jobs, who is a yang fire frequency. So yang water absorbed and reflected the light of yang fire and reproduced it as a new business. That's how this kind of plays out. But our day needs metal, energy, and earth. I would actually go with wet earth if you would. Actually, maybe a little dry, because our rabbit and our tiger there are going to have like root rot. Unless they're like those plants that, could be an ocean plant, algae or something, right? But I would also go with fire to burn off the excess wood, fire to create wealth, yang fire for our day. So those two opposing forces. But being that we have so much water on the cosmic highway and they're flowing, this energy today might feel like we're literally in between feeling states. You might go from feeling strong and then have moments where we're not clear, we're full of confusion. So like take a moment and focus your attention. It's always shifting, it's water, it's always flowing, especially over the next few days, because we've gone through a lot of these spiritual channels, if you will, seeing our memos, our subconscious patterns, or even we're becoming conscious aware of our patterns. So this could be anything from our environment, our habits, work habits, lifestyle habits, relationships, health, whatever. But now the galactic frontier is like golden. It's like this shimmering reflection. It's the big picture. It's the vision. It's the spirit of the future. So it's filling through into higher faith and forgiveness, different states of consciousness, where everything is galactic, and it's going to lead us to see a forefront into the future, something new, a new wave. So you might just be ending these karmic connections to the world, the outer world, and you might be perfecting your own spiritual mission, your inner genius. So if you do have some karma with society, groups, or community come up, I know I am. These issues are going to really come bubbling up to the surface. So another big transformation is our feelings about everything, whether it's emotional, psychic, or spiritual energy. These are all going to be kind of amplified by our emotions and our feelings, right? And feelings and emotions are very powerful, right? So sometimes our feelings are going to be the karma that we need to be clearing. It might not be specific, maybe just simple things that are triggering us, triggering anything that triggers emotional, spiritual, mental. It's always a growth period, actually. But if they're reoccurring feelings, if you're always feeling a certain thread, those are going to be coming up to the forefront. So they might come up as karmic lessons of healing to really get the memo, to get into the flow. So really be compassionate, be merciful, hold the faith, be forgiving, trust your feelings. Actually, just being mindful of what we are feeling. We can perfect our feelings from the unnecessary frequencies or the dramas that might be in our outer corridors. So just pay attention to what you're feeling, or, what are your feelings trying to communicate to you today? And utilize boundaries, a sacred space, create safety, security, and just kind of have a distinction between which feelings are yours or which feelings are coming from the outside influencers. It's a great day to protect our feelings from the outer world, the outer influences, just nurturing our own inner influences, our inner feelings. So just feel through where you need to trust yourself to be successful, moving forward, getting into the flow, creating some boundaries, and just understanding how we feel, validating these feelings, which I think there's a lot of that a couple years ago, the experience, but I'm always asking myself, is this me or is this them? So with all of that, thanks for tuning in today. Like I said, my house has been an earthquake due to these developers of greed in my village, but environmental stressors, who does the government work for anyways? Don't really want to go down that rabbit hole, but are they working for the people or against the people? Question everything. I just wonder who the puppets are. Just kidding, but not really, actually. But again, with all of that, let's see, an affirmation for the day. I would affirm that I am in my sacred garden, in my sacred space, feeling the comforts of my emotional waves. Just be loving to ourselves, believing, be living, be loving, and opening up our heart to the channels of the divine, the ancestor wisdom. It's like, what thread line are we on? And, I've had some pretty curious downloads this morning, but I am mindful, I am believing, I am opening, I am loving, and the aspects of me-self that are in my highest vibration. So say that a few times. I am, right? So again, InShalla and Ashe, thanks for tuning in. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.